I will tell you, James Sapirstein is not only one of the people that we rely on for just interesting biopharma perspective. He's also the CEO and president, chairman as well, of AzureRx Biopharma. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol AZRX on NASDAQ. You can go to azurrx.com. It's AZURRX.com. But he's also one of the guys that we've depended on during this Delta variant. And I want to talk not only about some of the recent press release that came out in the company, but I also want to talk about COVID with him. And he's been so generous with his time once again. Right in the middle of earnings season, right in the middle of putting press releases out, he still takes the time to talk.
Look at that.
Thanks so much, because I know you're busy right now, man.
Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
So here's my question. Boy, you were dead on when you said the Delta variant would be peaking over the next few weeks, and we're right there. You're also the person that actually introduced our entire audience, I believe, to the Lambda variant, the Gamma variant. I'm not sure that's the same order, right order, but
I don't want them.
But give us your overview right now, because this, based upon us, well, my radio programs and the other things that I do besides Big Biz, I've got a chance to interview CDC folks in Washington, got a chance to interview folks, state health officials here in California and Texas and Florida, as well as county health officials here in San Diego and, of course, New York City. And it seems as though that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated right now. And it seems as though if you look at a point and figure chart, okay, like a stock chart, sometimes it goes up.
Oh, no.
For vaccinated folks, that chart is going flat. And during COVID, on unvaccinated folks, it was going up, started to go down, and then they did a little dead cat bounce. So, James, am I accurate there? Because you do this every day, and you're one of the companies that's looking for COVID therapeutics so as not to depend solely on vaccination. So talk about that a little bit for us.
Yeah, first I'd like to, again, thank you, but also answer one part of your question and then answer a second part.
Sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The unvaccinated, as I call them, are variant-making machines, because the vaccine finds a way. The variant or the virus finds a way to make another variant when it comes against natural antibodies. So as long as we do not get ourselves to 75 to 80% vaccinated, we're going to continue to crank out variants. But not only in this country, but around the world. Lambda is coming up from Latin America. Gamma is in Europe and also Latin America. And you heard Tony Fauci say last week on one of the news shows that he would love to have a therapeutic because he's worried about the very next variant that we're not going to be able to resolve.
Well, James, let me ask this, because doesn't it work like this? You've got three categories of citizens right now. You've got the antibody group that so far seems to be have enough antibodies to fight off the Delta variant. You've got the vaccinated, then you've got the unvaccinated. If, just like the flu, and I had a caller call into a radio program the other day say, well, what are you worried about? If you're vaccinated, what are you worried about? Well, what I'm worried about is that just like the flu, that we try to get to herd immunity every single year with a new vaccine,
right.
This travels through enough people, and the existing COVID vaccine is not going to matter. Is that accurate?
Oh,
that's absolutely accurate. I just got off a plane, and I wore a double mask, and I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because the Delta variant gives you almost 100-fold virus in your nasopharynx region. We know that. We have data on that. That even if I'm vaccinated, if I get Delta, it might overwhelm my system. I can tell you in my own personal life, my sister who was vaccinated, her son got Delta, and she came down with COVID as well, even after being vaccinated. So she wasn't hospitalized, but she was sick for 4 days.
So here's and of course the argument on both sides go. One side, well, I don't want to be the government's experiment. On the other side is that well, I'm vaccinated, and if the vaccination works, why do I have to worry about it? Mm-hmm. I think what it comes down to is education here, and if you think in terms of numbers. The latest numbers, and forgive me if I'm off by a million, but I think about 173 million Americans have been vaccinated. Vaccination rates have gone up tenfold in some of those red states that weren't getting vaccinated over the last few weeks. People are asking for vaccinated. The unvaccinated are now asking for vaccinated when they're in the hospital, which is too late. Mm-hmm. And I guess the other piece of this thing that you have to think about is the fact that there's been 160 some odd thousand cases of COVID reaching vaccinated folks. So that obviously it's like a 0.0085% or something.
But they're not as sick.
So James, extrapolate all that data for us. Where's the fear
data,
factor?
The data is accurate. It's probably closer to 180 million Americans, which is about half the population. The problem is that a lot of the older folks were vaccinated very early on in the pandemic when the vaccine was available, and their antibodies have come way down. So now there's going to have to be a booster for these people in order to get the antibodies back. So these folks, until they get vaccinated with a booster, they're going to become variant-making machines as well.
Right. Okay.
So I also just was on the phone when I got off the plane. We had an investigator meeting, as you said. We had a press release today that we finished the first cohort of our COVID trial. And one of the questions that the investigator asked is, will our drug work against the variants? Well, it should, because quite frankly, we're not guided by the antibody problem that the vaccines have had. So we work in a very different area. We work on something called autophagy. So we destroy the virus in total. So we should work against all variants. So and other therapeutics are touting the same thing. So we do need to, as I say, drug our way out of this.
So let's talk about AZRX Pharmaceutical, or Biopharma, I should say, beg your pardon. AZRX is their stock symbol. Talk about the latest, because you did talk about the press release. There is a need for therapeutics outside of vaccines, and will the adoption rate for the unvaccinated that doesn't want to get vaccinated, do you think that's another option for them to fight off COVID, in your opinion?
Absolutely. As I speak to a lot of the investigators, just like I just did, the people on the front line, specifically here in Florida, people would rather take a tablet, once a day or a couple times a day than take the vaccine. I'm not sure why people feel that way, but that's a fact. So once we have drugs and tablets available, I think people will be more apt to take them.
Yeah, I think this last part too is, can you just one more time in your research, because you've got some other programs going, you've got checkpoint inhibitor colitis, you've got pancreatic enzyme inefficiency for cystic fibrosis patients. Have those, are you triaging kind of the attention that you're spending? Or are they still are they still moving forward right along?
That's a great question. I think all of your investors who are listening in over the next couple of weeks or so, we're going to see a lot of press releases on our part. A lot of our things are coming to the apex. With MS-1819 that we use in cystic fibrosis patients, we have new data that's coming very soon. We're going to file our IND for checkpoint inhibitor colitis. That will be announced very soon. We're also going to announce more sites for COVID, and there's just a lot of news coming. It's a very exciting time to be at the company. We are busy.
Yeah.
Even though in August things usually die down, we're very busy.
Well, you read that press release today, and you can actually tell just how busy you are. James, thank you so much. James Sapirstein. He is the chairman, president, and CEO of AZRX Biopharma. AZRX is the stock symbol, and there you go.